everybody, this is Marta. Welcome to my musical solutions. Video today is going to be on Paganini Caprice number 13, which is one of my favorites. It's probably one of the early ones that we will learn if we learn Paganini, because it's short. I think partly that's the reason. And it is not as difficult as, let's say, 24th Caprice. But it still has plenty of difficulties, and I've been practicing this piece all my life, and I still find details that need polishing. So let's dive right in. So at the very beginning, we have a short section. We have actually like two parts to the piece. So we'll discuss the first part in this first video. It's in 6/8 in B flat major. So B flat major right off the bat is not the most common key for violin, but it's a beautiful key. It's a beautiful key. And I think that's partly why he writes it dolce. Dolce meaning sweet, is because of the key. And also he wants to create this kind of a leisurely, fun little introduction. So it starts with thirds, and thirds are not always easy, especially in this case. They can be easy because they are chromatic, and often I think it's taken too lightly, this passage, this first passage. Because of course we could kind of slide the fingers down, but over the years that I've been playing this piece, I realized that you have to really be quite accurate with it to make that beautiful effect. I think of this passage as a laughter as we're going down that scale, so maybe you can find that entertaining and helpful. So first of all, we have to make that jump. We'll call it slide, or you can call it portamento, because we don't actually have a slide marking from the composer, but we can jump, and also there's a slur. So and it's on the downbeat, and that's what's challenging. I hear people often play, accenting that top note, and that's one way to do it. It's kind of an illusion where the beat is. So when we hear this piece, we kind of wonder, where's the beat? Well, the beat is after the two notes, that's the downbeat. So actually the top third should be lighter, not heavier. But if we have a technical difficulty, we may make that top note too heavy, like we end up on that. And that's okay at first when you're practicing it. So the first challenge is that we have a third with the third and the first finger, and then we have to go to the fourth and second finger. So the transition has to be quite smooth to connect. So I would practice first the bottom, just the bottom voice, fingering both notes, but playing just the bottom voice. So you see that I'm sliding with the old finger, and then halfway through I slide with the new finger. So if you can see that. And so that's assuming that you already kind of know where you're going. Another way, if you're still having trouble with that, you can do it like this. Just reach. Yes, I'm trying to think of what is another easy way to reach that B flat, but you're going to be from D on the bottom to B flat. We don't really have a pivot note. If you're familiar with the pivot note is when we're shifting and that old finger goes to the new position before we play the new finger. But in this case, we're going 5 positions up, so we're going to an A if you use the old finger in the new position. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying here. So you have to play from D to A, and then B flat is right next to it with the fourth finger. So that's just another way And of course, some of these things I can't show perfectly on the little video. It may be helpful to have a teacher show it to you in person. Anyway, so that is first challenge, is jumping or sliding up to that note. And then we change fingerings to the next third. So for most part, this passage is chromatic, but on the fourth note of that measure, the first full measure, there's actually only the first finger changes. So we're going, and then here, that's the note that changes, not the bottom. That one stays the same. The A stays the same. So I think it should be understood right up front that that's what's happening. Sometimes students will learn it very, very fast and they think it's all chromatic, but it's not. So sooner you can learn this better. Then we have, and then it's chromatic. And then we go to the lower strings. So that is just some fifths that have to be tuned. And then I will go to second position. Okay, so that's the technical part of it. Of course, then there's a musical part of it. And I've been playing this piece all my life, and I change my mind all the time about the interpretation of it. So as I maybe already mentioned before, the pickup, there are two notes. So we don't want to go, it may come out that way eventually, but okay, and then we do it again. The second part of this introduction or first section of the piece has some other challenges. We have a lot more jumps. So this whole section is really based on thirds. So you may want to practice your thirds on scales as well. So really get strong with thirds. But B flat major is yet another challenge because this is all B flat major. So that B flat that we had at the beginning in the first measure when we slid up, that's that B flat we have to play again. But this time we don't have a nice slide, we have to jump. So I would practice reaching that B flat and the D, but play only on the lower string at first. And then we go down to G. So I would go just the bottom. And tune that up. And then I would go and do the top notes as well. Another thing you can do is just do separate, so you don't have to deal with the bow. And always make sure the left hand is ahead of the bow, and it's prepared. Okay, and of course we add some interpretation afterwards. You can, since it's a caprice, you can listen to other recordings and just get some ideas to make it creative. You can listen to my recording also, which I will attach underneath this video. So then we have in measure 12, I tend to put a little fermata on that, just wait. A little portamento would be okay. So we're going third, fifth, sixth position. So what would be helpful is finding that note as a harmonic on the A string. Okay, and then we have a minor sixth, so like a half step between those two notes, the A and the F. Yeah, not too sharp. But I wait a little bit there, I put a little fermata. So that, because that's the B section of this introduction. And then we go back to the very beginning. you can go. Sometimes I take more time and do 2 down bows on the last 2 chords. So that's the introduction. Going on to the second part of the Caprice number 13 by Paganini, we have now a completely different material from the beginning, which was all based on thirds, kind of dolce, sliding up and down, and very graceful. This part is more dramatic and much faster. So also we're going on to G string. So this whole section deals with a lot of string crossings. That's one difficulty, and also a lot of octaves, broken octaves in that. And those broken octaves can be very deceiving because you need to practice them as full double stops, otherwise they're going to be really out of tune. So so I play the first part kind of at the tip, so then we want to use the forearm, but like I said, with octaves, before you even get to that point, you want to practice the octaves as octaves. So we have the G in the second measure. We have a chromatic scale, right? So we have a chromatic scale that needs to be worked out. So G major, G string. I apologize. G string. So you have to work on that G string, being really comfortable reaching up there. So making sure your arm can move up the fingerboard in a pretty relaxed manner. The second time when this section happens, I do it at the frog, and actually in the edition I have, which is the international edition by Galamian's fingerings. So I would do it starting down bow at the lower part of the bow. So it kind of becomes, it's on the string, but it ends up bouncing. And it almost bounces like on both strings, because you can't really make it bounce. This direction is very awkward. It's easier to go up, down, but down, up, it ends up being kind of a sautille bouncing on both strings. But that makes it different for the second time, the repeat. And then we go to the E string, same passage, but now it goes backwards. So, and this one I find kind of challenging because I don't know, my fingers are maybe more narrow than yours, but you may also have a challenge with that, is when you go to the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth note in measure 24, which is that first full measure of the second string, second section of the second part. So right there, that one is tricky because you have to flatten your first finger, and it takes a lot of pressure. So same here. So I would help with the bow too, just give it a little bit of an accent. That helps me. It says spiccato here, but on the repeat, if you do the repeat, that's kind of your own choice. But that would mean changing bowings, and I've never done it that way. That's just the Galamian's idea, and you can try it yourself. So so that passage, it's a progression going down. Now we go to, now we have some string crossing. So you've got to work on your arm, making sure that you can cross the strings with the forearm, not the whole shoulder, and big arm there from the shoulder. And that's one of the trickier parts I find, it's interesting. So you can practice just between the G instead of going to E string. Stay on the A string and D string. That may be easier to start. And then slowly start adding the higher note, the E string. And then we have another segment that has octaves. So again, I would practice. So you're doing up, down, up, down, up, down. And you accent that first. And then, surprise, we go to E flat. So again, I would practice maybe on the lower string first. And I always repeat the notes if I'm working on something like that. But I'm still fingering the octaves. So this is measure 32 I'm working here. So slowly but surely you will progress. This takes a lot of pressure or weight. I don't like calling the word pressure, using the word pressure, but you're gonna have to press quite a bit on the strings so that you get a good vibration. Okay, and then so I would practice those octaves. Like this. And then going down. And then slowly start adding the top note. You can still play each note twice until those octaves are comfortable. That takes quite a bit of time to, years really, to get it perfected. And then we have more string crossings, and make sure that your arm is pivoting. You're pivoting the forearm here, and the wrist, a little bit of fingers, but and then so that was backwards, right? Up, down, up, down, up, down, because that's how it works much better than down, up, down, up. You don't want to do that. And then measure 36, it shifts to an opposite bowing because we have now off the string. So you're gonna go to the frog. I find it very important here to have the fingers flexible, not really loose, but flexible. If you're interested in that process, I have a video on collé. You can go to my technique of the week and see what I mean by that finger motion. You may be already familiar with that, but it helps me a lot to cross the strings more with the wrist and the fingers rather than the forearm, because we're now at the frog. So you have to have a lot more power in the fingers. So now we're progressing into the upper part of the bow. So again, more octaves. So make sure you got your octaves. And then back to G string. Sorry. So here you can find the harmonics. To find that on the G string initially. And I use this harmonic here in that last measure, measure 39. By the way, I'm numbering my measures all the way through the piece. So this is measure 39, which is the last full measure of the piece. So I do a lot of harmonics there. You can choose whatever you want. So that gives you an idea of some exercises for Caprice number 13. Thanks for listening. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you found it helpful and enjoyable. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe so we can reach more listeners. You can also put comments, suggestions, and requests for any other pieces you would like me to record in the comments below. And I hope to see you next time. Bye-bye.